So, good afternoon. I'm here to discuss the two topics for this day. I'll be discussing the for business policies adaptability, the new competitive advantage, and how you able to have a competitive advantage over your competitors by means of how you set up your business policies. And then I will also discuss for today's tutorial the the global strategic planning after the adaptability. So, first up with the adaptability. So, let me just show you the bigger screen. Adaptability in new competitive advantage. So, in this learning objective, we will uh, discuss the following: how we able to understand the importance of adaptability in today's business operation, and of course how we able to explain and identify the factors that will help the company to adapt efficiently to changing environment and to analyze the challenges faces by the business in implementing the process of adaptation. Okay. It's more on the management of change, diba? The number one challenge in adapting is, of course, aside from us adapting with the technology, what will be changes in the politics, environment, is how you able to implement it within your organization. The main challenging, as based on my experience, is how will your people react on it, your internal and external stakeholders, and how they will get the point of it will be for the benefit of the whole organization. So basically, there are four capabilities to gain adaptability. Is, of course, you have to know and basically act on the signals. Okay, the ability to read and act on signals. So company must it's have an antenna that is tuned with the signals of change. So basically, sometimes we need to decode them and quickly act to refine and reinvent its business model. 'Di ba? Nangyari ngayon, lahat na people are into online. 'Di ba? Mostly if you are a conservative organization, definitely this one is new for you. So you have to reshape your and reinvent your business model as we move toward to the digital era and transform it as well to your people who will be um, executing the actions toward to the achieving the objectives of the company. So basically, it's more of feeding them information, what will be the advantage and disadvantage based on the previous model that you implement in your business policy. But basically, you have to emphasize that leaning to the competition and how you cope up with the competition. It's important that you have to be transparent at all in such a way that the information flow will be acceptable and in a long term benefit. Otherwise, of course, in the first place, you will be having conflict and sometimes your movement will be misunderstood by many because they were already used to in the previous model. However, due to the changing competition, diba, that stiff competition in the industry, it's a matter of how your people will process it, and the same time how they will take it and see the potential of your uh, reinvention in such a way that uh, they would could easily adopt it in a little by a little by little process, 'di ba? Kasi when I was working in a banking industry, we most of the people there in the banking industry, a majority are already in the baby boomer, 'di ba? So if you baby boomer generation, so basically most of them are conservative and of course they're not tech savvy or digital native. However, because of the strict competition as well in the financial industry, they have to accept the fact that this would be also a signal for them to embrace the changes that that is the company is facing right now. So it's more on how you give them training and information, the landscape of this industry, so that in the long run, okay, they will adapt little by little, and at the same time they wouldn't feel that because of the sudden change or the drastic change that the company has to adapt, they wouldn't be surprised. At the same time they wouldn't be diba, left out, and they would understand that it's already part of their responsibility. So it's a matter of reading the signal and acting, ability to read the signal and acting on it. So basically, the next one is the ability to experiment. So a growing number of adaptive competitors are using an array of new approaches and technologies, especially in virtual environments, to generate and test and replicate a larger number of innovative ideas faster at lower cost with less risk than their rival can. Of course, if you are going to reinvent your business model, there will be a trial and error. There's no such thing of perfect organization. It becomes perfect if all of the stakeholder and internal stakeholder are aligning together to achieve your business objectives. So basically, benchmarking is one of the things that you also have to consider. And at the same time, if you have to test your business model, if it's effective enough to replicate a larger number of innovative ideas faster than it is used to. At the same time, we also have to consider the costs, diba? But definitely, the more that you are changing or aligning your business model to the most updated one, it will really incur risk. So you have to evaluate which one will be less risk, uh, and as much as possible that you could identify the difference between your competitors and what you get offer to the market. So the ability to manage complex multi-company systems. So basically, if you are already in a large company or a huge company, you are already holding multiple company systems. In such an environment, advantage will flow to those companies that can create effective strategies at the work, network, or system level. So basically, adaptive companies are therefore learning how to push activities outside the company without benefiting competitors, and how to design and involve strategies for that all without necessarily being to rely on the strong control mechanism. So it becomes more complex the more that you are handling more responsibilities in your companies, you are they are more spreading or expanding their businesses, the more the responsibility to manage it. So it accompanies risks and complexity and how you strategize your business operations. So basically, it's more on adaptability, which you will implement in in that particular company will be aligned to the mother company, or it will be different since you will be the other company produces or releasing different products than the other. So basically, you have to provide a push activities wherein you will know the market first, and then do the experimentation, and then as much as possible you keep yourself be updated with what's happening outside by creating more and more activities that will be that will feed your internal stakeholders what could be their strategies in how they will compete with your competitors. It's more on the designing and how your business strategies work, okay, without relying too much on the control mechanisms. So the last one would be the the ability to mobilize. So this about new ways and structures to mobilize the full potential of people working for an organization. So basically, this is the best, one of the best studies that you can conduct when you have a thesis. Um, if you make a research about in a certain company, for example, you will take up MBA someday, the best thing that I could advise to you is to study about the management of change like this one. So basically, all of course, if you're 100 people, we're dealing with different personalities. It's it's important that we have fluid structures and a solid decision making process, sharing of knowledge, and of course to empathize and solidify the relationship within our organization so that we could achieve the full potential of our objectives and strategies to implement, of course, adaptation of change, di ba? Kasi if we will not focus on the full potential we are working with our company, therefore, all strategies will be jeopardized because the ones who will execute the strategies will be our people, di ba? If they are not fully okay adaptable to these changes, okay, there will be a reflection on what will be the outcome of your operation. So it will affect largely with your business operation and of course your income. So basically, um in promoting or reinventing your business model should also have a reflection or affect, kumbaga, there will be an effect on your people and how they will manage the changes within your organization. So the best thing is when you implement one change is you have the fluid structure, decision making process, knowledge sharing, and more on the people and how you're able to convince them to accept the fact that these changes will be better for the company and for themselves as well. So the challenge for big business in adaptation method is of course, look at the mavericks. Ano ba yung mavericks? Yung fast changing industries are characterized by the presence of disruptive mavericks. These are the new players, di ba? So could be a threat. If this continuously, of course, yeah, we have to be ready. Like for example, si Jollibee, diba? There's a new Maverick like yung Mang Inasal, binili nga, diba? Because even though they stop the growing or they see the potential of Mang Inasal, they could be their competitors, some they could beat them off, diba? So that's why they bought it in the to begin with, and look like Jollibee now, they are growing and growing now, and they are having the ambition to be to expand their business internationally. However, the business were greatly affected by the pandemic, so right, they are more on, for now they are paying more debts because of the loan that they had from the last 2015 because of the expansion internationally. But then again, of course, Jollibee could not be defeated here in the Philippines because it's already identified as Filipino brand of fast changing industry in terms of food, 'di ba? Like if you ask your friends, family, or one of their selection, one of the best selection of the people of Filipinos would to eat in the well-known fast food chain like Jollibee. So, as your managers to shift their focus on traditional competitors moves to what the new players are doing and think of the ways to ensure your companies against this competition or neutralize its effect. So next, identify and address uncertainties. This would be difficult for all of us because we don't know the uncertainties yet unless we provide a strong research about it. So the best way is to get your managers to put aside the traditional single business forecast, instead of examine the risks and uncertainties that could significantly affect the company. So this means that simple extension of the familiar long-range strategy exercise can force people to realize that what they don't know, and of course you have to address it. So first, forecasting, okay, it could be quarterly because business continuity plan is, for example, ito pandemic. So our forecast will be reshaped to another strategies because of course we didn't expect that there will be a pandemic, okay, that will cause our economy to fall down. And basically, this is part of the uncertainty that we did not prepare for, diba? Since it's global recession. So, of course, you have to identify and make sure that, of course, you will have a resolutions if ever you will face it again in the future. Put an initiative on every risk. So depending on the nature of the uncertainty, the goal of the initiative may be responding to a neglected business trend, creating option for responding to it the downline, or simply learning more about it. In managing this initiative, your company should be as disciplined with metrics, time frames, and of course, responsible it would be for the product portfolio or operating plan. So basically, all initiative and every that we accounted for is, of course, down with the time frame. And as a kumbaga, action plan and how we resolve this within the time frame that we have projected. Because the key responsible should be also be identified who will the ones resolve the problems. So there's an organization and discipline on how these problems will be addressed in the future. So it's part of the operation planning. And then examine multiple alternatives in a stable environment. It is sufficient to prove that what already exists and examine single change proposals. So the simple step of requiring that every change proposal be accompanied by several alternatives not only surfaces a more varied and powerful set of moves, but also legitimizing and foster cognitive diversity and organizational flexibility. So meaning to say, when you provide action plan with a time frame and like you already identified the key person responsible in that area, you must also provide the key alternatives and how you're able to solve that problem in such a way that you also examine the proposal and how you to make things more progressive in your action. So a plan or a strategy wouldn't be effective at all if you do not plan for alternatives, because there must be a probability or you must consider the risk, okay, that of course your plan A would fall and at least you are preparing for the plan B. So basically, if you're handling multiple companies already, one alternative wouldn't be enough and will suffice the business operation unless, okay, you examine multiple alternatives and apply to your company. But of course, it's part of your forecasting and your proposal to your investors and clients. Increase the clock speed. Okay? So the speed of adaptation is a function of the cycle time of decision making. The fast-moving environment, companies need to accelerate change by making annual planning process lighter and more frequent, and sometimes by making episodic process continual. So basically, like for example, when we had this pandemic, di ba, mas madami na yung meetings namin as to compare before, di ba? Pero I experienced like every week we had a meeting. Even though yun is an academic setup, that's the only thing that some businesses will do as well, because it accelerates time. Okay, the demand changes over time because of the recession that globally experiencing right now. So the more frequent that you have a meeting, it will also resolve or identify some problems that we didn't prepare to begin with. So it becomes episodic process continual, and time from time that the decision making has been improved because of the continuous communication that we are providing along with the organization. So it also increase the clock speed, and the more that they are more functional in terms of the adaptability. So that's it for that adaptability. Now, moving forward to the next topic, which is yung global strategic planning. So in this report, we will be know, okay, the nature of doing business globally. So the advantage and disadvantage of doing business globally, global challenge, tax rates, tax inversion, business culture across countries, business climate across the countries. So basically, while the importance of studying global strategic, of course, di ba, the business grows, we have to be prepared that someday you will enter also the global market. Even though if you already succeed here in the local, there must be to provide a sustainable business operation in a long-term basis, of course, and make your business grower be one of the established business here in the local. Of course, you have like Jollibee, diba? Who wouldn't know that they will enter the global market as well and expanding their business operation internationally, right? So global meanings all countries, okay, around the world, okay. Pag international, okay, could be Asia, okay, Western, okay. So basically, we are talking about the all countries around the world. So basically, global strategic planning is a process of adopted by organizations that operate internationally in order to formulate an effective global strategy. So this strategic planning in global is a process of evaluating the internal and external environment by multinational organizations and make decisions about how they will achieve their long-term and short-term objectives. So, syempre, when we do the planning as well, of course, we did not just settle for the short-term objective, but as well as what will be the long-term and sustainable objectives for the company. So long-term cultural difference, logistics, language, partners, time, distance, of course, Swiss, and internal external environment are one of the nature. These are the nature of doing business globally, and these are the things that we have to consider when we are trying to penetrate global market. So the advantages of penetrating the global market or putting up or setting up our global strategic planning is it allows us to pull all our resources together. It also reduces the labor exploitation issue, also reduces the prospect of tyranny, and it also improves communication access, and would also remove the tax havens for wealthy individuals and businesses. So, of course, the disadvantage of entering global, if too early for you, and also offshoring instead of less, benefit more wealthy people than the poor, would encourage disease transfer because you, of course, you go international, right? So it could also reduce social safety net programs and it will create a new system of politics. So as we enter the global or making the global decision, one of the global these are the global challenges that we will encounter. Okay, these are the few: physical distance, a familiar culture, mastering marketing, organizational communication, human resource, choosing the right countries, properly adapting documents and content to the culture. So, of course, the corporating inversion meaning is a process of moving and reincorporating a company in a country with lower taxes. Sometimes they do this because it has a lower taxes, so that's what you call corporate inversion. So, global business culture, they have different business values and practices. Of course, we have to adapt the culture. Ba? Hindi mo puwedeng for example, yeah, 'di ba ang potato corner ay very successful here in the Philippines. When they enter their first franchise in the US, they top the US market. They had a hard time to to share the same uh, winnings or victories here in the Philippines because of course most of the people within the country patronizing their local brands, diba? Their local products. So it has a little effort at gaining some cultural literacy can help you deal with successful with people around the globe. So cross-cultural core competency, the roots of business etiquette, considering the context and avoiding Americanism would be, of course, will help you to expand your and understand the global business culture. So, like for example, these are the countries example that I will share to you. In Japan, there are most important for business formalities to key. They're almost exchange. Kaya malakas ang suicide rate dito sa Japan for the actually for the male. Kasi yung Japan is kilala as sexist, 'di ba, in terms of female. They see female as the weak, okay? And parang superiority yung man nila. So in India naman, uh, business can move at a slower pace in India, especially in the public sector because we all know naman India is not a progressive country, they're part of the third world country. In Europe naman, in France, in business meetings, participants are expected to act in a reserved manner, avoiding seeming overly friendly. So they're just straightforward in terms of business, so they don't get along or putting up or encounter this personal relationship or a relationship first. Unlike here in the Philippines, before you do or conduct business, diba, you have to build muna a relationship. That's the definition of business here in the Philippines, diba? Like kamusta ka? Like, let's have a coffee. Here in the Europe, the setup is they want to be straightforward and do business right away than, getting to know the, the person or participants in the business meeting. In German, business people greatly value appointments and simply dropping by or call to discuss a business. They are more on the call. So, sometimes perceived as rude as is being late, di ba? So, bastos daw sa kanila yun, parang they're unacceptable if you're late, di ba? They don't like people who, lahat naman ata, di ba? I mean, for them, it's not a good signal to conduct business or to do business. So, of course, when you do business in the Philippines, di ba, sometimes we have a nature of laging late, di ba? So it becomes our nature already. It becomes parang a norm that sometimes when we do business, it's late already. But in Europe, you cannot do the same thing to them because they don't like and they find it wrong. The Middle East, they compete for reputation and self-worth during social interaction. So business climate is a general economic environment within a society of enterprises and location, compromising of attitude of the government, politicals, labor organization, financial leading institution toward the business and business activity. Attitude of labor unions toward employers, current taxation regime, inflation statistics through which forecasts generally explore a positive twist regarding their financial system. So basically, if you can see, these are the business environment rankings economies in terms of the most progressive countries. We have Singapore, of course, because they're a small country. Followed by Switzerland. Eh, nasan ba tayo dito? Wala tayo dito. So, if you want to conduct business, these are also the statistics that you want to see if you have the enough capital to put up your business here, of course. Following the taxation there, di ba? Asia's best performers have several factors in common: a favorable policy environment, particularly for finance and foreign investment, with competition policies that encompasses international best practice. In Europe, the impact of debt crisis on political stability, economic stability, and financing has meant that EU countries remaining some way off the top of the EIU's business environment rankings. That said, most of these countries retain relatively strong investment climates, dominating the ranking 10 and 30 place. Okay? So this reflects the high degree of political stability in the region, notwithstanding ang increased social tension in some countries and the openness of market toward trade. So in America naman, the world's largest economy, which is recovering faster than the other, di ba? So, policies toward private enterprise are more open and transparent, apart from certain security-sensitive sectors such as energy and foreign investment faces few restrictions. The labor market of the country is very flexible and overall standard of infrastructure is solid. Although greater investment is needed in some areas, especially roads and bridges. So in the Middle East from 2018 arises more than global trend. So this mass less stellar performance in number and influential regional economies. So for example, in Egypt, where two presidents have been toppled within 3 years and security environment has worsened and of course the deterioration in global business environment ranking. Similarly, Bahrain and Algeria ranking also failed to improve, although in the latter cases, this largely reflects on the government. It's more on the political side that, of course, that you must also, aside from the cultural values or the values that they had within the country, you also have to examine the environment and as well as the political movements within the country. So that sums up our report for this topic. I hope that you also consider this when you top the global market. Okay, so basically these are the components or the challenges, of course, the advantages, disadvantages, and if you're already set up your identity for the local, maybe that's the only time that you could enter the global market. But first, of course, you have to set up your global business planning. That how you execute your strategies and operation. So that's it. And thank you so much for listening and have a good day.